Hey y'all, we've got the GOP debate going on in the background, and I'm already bored because they're basically Fox News just keeps putting up videos of Biden for this panel of Republicans to respond to. Like, I think that I think that what they're trying to do is make sure that this panel does not attack Trump, despite the fact that he skipped out on the debate. Um, I kind of don't care, so I'm gonna watch some lighthearted bullshit about the Colleen Ballinger scandal, and I can tell you already, like, I'm starting to get so sick of these catty people. That, like, there is a way to handle this type of abuse and trauma without sounding like Mean Girls, for real.
Hi muckers, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you're all doing very well. So it has came to my attention that Trisha has posted on the Just Trish podcast about the Colleen Ballinger situation, the SWIP situation, the Johnny situation. Now, again, a lot of people have been giving Trisha heat for this, and they're being like, haven't you said you weren't going to talk about this? And for me, it's just kind of like, okay, but this story, literally a part of this SWIP story involves Trisha Paytas.
Yeah, it was a stupid thing to say in the first place. Because once you've experienced a trauma like that, where you found out that you were used to abuse minors, your pictures were used to abuse minors, you can't just be like, I'm done with it. But that's the thing, is that, like, everybody involved in this story is so immature that she can't articulate what she needs to articulate, which is simply that was fans only content. I had nothing to do with it being shared, and it was inappropriate for her to do so. I'm hurt that she used that as an opportunity to body shame me, and that's what I know at this moment. It doesn't need to be, I'm never going to talk about this again. You should never, ever, ever put finality on something like that, because you can't guarantee that that's going to be the case, especially in a developing story.
So to shut her down and be like, why are you talking about this, is so annoying to me. And you don't even need to be a Trisha Paytas lover to say that. So I think she has every right to talk about this. I posted a video yesterday that was in regards to a video she posted on her YouTube channel about this. I'm very interested for this one because, again, it's on her new podcast, which seems to be going down very well. And it's her and her co-worker, and they are talking at it from a more journalistic point of view. So I think that this one is going to be equally, if not more, interesting than just Trisha sitting down. We'll see. Again, if anyone knows the Selena Gomez meme of Selena Gomez sitting with the blanket wrapped around her, Trisha bought the same blanket. I just think it's kind of camp. All right, let's get into it.
Okay. So, the SWOOP video.
I'm like at this point, yeah.
Well, first of all, like you kind of mentioned earlier, shout out to SWOOP. That was the first video of hers that I watched, and I was like,
Oh, really? You didn't watch the first one?
no,
Yeah.
I didn't see the other ones. And then
Trisha was tuned in to part 1 and 2.
Then on my Twitter For You page, like I saw SWOOP talking about editing, like part 3, and I was like, what? How intense could this be? Because she was really explaining how grueling it was, how long it was taking just to export. She showed like a screenshot of her timeline editing the video, and it looked insane.
Right.
And I was like, what could it possibly?
How are these people live streamers? How the hell are these people live streamers when they're speaking at such a fast pace that you can barely understand what they're saying? And they just sound like, it sounds like a high school cafeteria at this point. Like, why? How can you actually have an audience and a platform and be speaking at that speed? It's like verbal diarrhea.
Be that it's like that.
I mean, so much fucking work.
And even when she posted that, I was like 4 hours. I was like, 4? That's long. Like, is it really necessary to have 4 hours?
Embrace presents the ball game test. Play ball. Braces.
This is the perception that so many people had, and they openly commented this on my video, and they were like, I'm gonna be honest, Adam, like, I'm a casual watcher of what has been going on, and whenever I saw that Swip had uploaded 4 hours worth, I was not sure if I was going to stick around for the long haul, but it was so captivating and so well made that nothing ever dragged on, and that's a fucking credit, by the way. To be able to keep people's attentions for 4 hours, and they finish it, and then they're anticipating the next part. Genius.
I could not, the second I pressed play.
Keep in mind, whenever I'm at a cinema, and the movie's longer than an hour and a half, I'm like...
I was so...
Oh, come on, Adam. You're seriously a young man. I can't get through movies in a theater anymore at all because of my joint pain. At age 49, I cannot sit through like the hour and a half or the 2 hours or whatever it's going to be. I literally have to get up and start walking around. And yeah, I had to take multiple breaks while getting through Swoop's video, but I did watch the whole 4 hours. I did do it.
Taken aback by it. So first of all, shout out to Swoop, because the way that she presented all the information,
Shout out to Swoop.
Speaks,
like
so
calm, collected.
eloquent.
Even when it's like about, you can tell she's like a trauma survivor for real, not that no one's not, but like the way she like handles her triggers, like when she.
Did Trisha just say you can tell she's a trauma survivor for real, for real?
Yeah, that's what she said.
Starts talking about it and like composes herself, like it's actually amazing. She's definitely the most articulate person on YouTube, the most well researched, hands down.
It actually is amazing. Like
and inclusive, unbiased. Like she interviews everyone involved, which I feel like there's so many times people tell stories, and there's always two sides to stories. There's a well-rounded like version of stories, but like no one presents that. There's always a narrative or a bias to like make someone look bad in a situation. And
I need to subscribe to this channel.
obviously above and beyond that, which is like amazing.
Yeah, the fact that she went out to all sides to at least get their take, to get more evidence, just the way, and she's also just so passionate when she speaks too, which really makes you like invested as a viewer slash listener. Oh my god, I'm like obsessed with her now. I think she's like
Same,
amazing.
yeah. I know. I'm like someone who's always hesitant to like talk to channels that do that because I never wanted to make it seem like like being my favorite, this, whatever. So for her to
You know what? I saw someone draw a parallel between the Swoop to Colleen Ballinger is D'Angelo Wallace to Shane Dawson. And it really made me sit back and think and be like, wait, like, with Peace and Love, I think Swoop has put way more effort in than D'Angelo, but it's not a competition of who put in more work. I just think that Swoop actually interviewed people and D'Angelo gathered, information and added it. I think both of them did an incredible job, and I think D'Angelo Wallace will go down in history on YouTube for his video on Shane. Like, literally go down in history for that video. I think it is so incredibly done. I think he's so brilliant as a content creator, and I think Swoop is so brilliant as a content creator, and I think you can draw parallels between both of the videos, but obviously, like, Swoop interviewed people, whereas, D'Angelo's videos were not that. I think they both had very different purposes, but I think that it's interesting to draw the parallels between them.
people like obviously don't like me and they have a bias already, so like to have this like unbiased view of me out there is always like risky for anyone because they're like, well, church is bad and blah blah blah. So the fact that she like mentioned a couple times like the full story when it like came to mind, and also just the sensitivity of what it was. There's so much to talk about with this, but like again, I just need to like reiterate, like Swoop was the one that convinced Johnny to take down my pictures, which is like that was like it definitely like humiliating, and it's like one of these things where it's like I never want to talk about it ever, and then when those pictures came out, I kind of felt like forced to talk about it, and like Johnny admitted that on like interviews that like he's like I did it to kind of force her to talk because she wasn't talking, and what.
You know what's crazy? The difference. I saw someone comment this as well. Wow, today's a video of comments. Because I really have been diving into my comment section, and someone wrote, it's interesting to draw the parallels between Adam and Johnny with the Trisha Nude situation, because for me, I openly online expressed my frustration with the fact that Trisha continued to work with Colleen, and I wanted Trisha so desperately to stop working with Colleen. And because it felt like a slap in the face, not on a personal level with Trish, but it just felt like I wasn't being believed, right? Whereas with Johnny, it was he wanted Trisha to speak on it so that Trisha would bring more attention to his name, which is why in interviews I said Trisha is continuing to work with Colleen, and that bothers me because she needs to know what Colleen has done to her, whereas Johnny was doing it for getting attention because then Trisha would be speaking about Johnny. And I think one thing to note as well is I've already apologized to Trisha for, whether it came across as forcing her to talk about something. I wonder what I said in my email. How did I phrase that? I'm pretty sure I said something in regards to, like, I'm sorry if I pressured you into saying something. It was just for... Hold on, let me figure this out. Sent emails, because I know I don't send that many emails. To Trisha. Okay.
You know, and I think you're being awfully generous here because honestly, I don't think Trish really had a problem with where her pictures ended up. Just being real. Like, if you are a sex worker and you're putting something out, even if it's behind a paywall, you've covered your own ass, legally speaking, but ultimately you know that your pictures are going to get circulated. So her crocodile tears here and invoking Swoop's name like she has some sort of authority here to speak about Swoop. It's a bit infuriating for me because as a sex worker, she knows for a fact her photos are gonna get circulated, period. And there could be all kinds of negative things said about her with the circulation of those photos. That is a risk that she knew she was taking. So this is a bunch of crocodile tears right here.
Apology from Adam McIntyre's related subject. Okay, so I wrote, firstly, I'm so sorry about the betrayal from Colleen. She really is nasty. I am also sorry for putting so much pressure on you to speak out. It came from a place of frustration, and whether or not you believe me, caring about you, and not wanting you to feel the betrayal of her like I did. So this is something I've already apologized for, and I didn't even do it to the extremes that...
Yeah, and it was very generous and naive of you to write something like that.
Johnny did, which again, I think it's interesting to draw parallels between Johnny and me. Because again, I'm trying to create as much divide between me and Johnny as livingly possible.
At that point, it wasn't for me to talk about, even when there was things about, but I did feel forced to talk about it. This time, I don't feel forced to talk about it. I feel like gratitude towards it, but it's just such a dark situation. Like, not everyone involved, but like there's so many layers to it, and just like layers of manipulation and people traumatizing other people.
True.
It really comes down like hurting people. So obviously these people had trauma. There's some unwell people, some sick people, but it's like they don't get help, so they're like traumatizing other people in the like process of all this, and including Swoop, who
I think one thing I just don't know when I can...
No, I'm sorry. Did you just miss that? She said including Swoop. Including Swoop. What do you mean by that, Trish? Traumatized people being traumatized. I know she's speaking very quickly because she's speaking like a catty high school bully that's sitting in the cafeteria. Including Swoop. People who have been traumatized, who are traumatizing other people, including Swoop. That's what she just said. You want me to play it back?
Which again, I think it's interesting to draw parallels between Johnny and me. Because again, I'm trying to create as much divide between me and Johnny as livingly possible.
at that point, it wasn't for me to talk about, even when there was things about, but I did feel forced to talk about it. This time, I don't feel forced to talk about it. I feel like gratitude towards it, but it's just such a dark situation. Like not everyone involved, but like there's so many layers to it, and just like layers of manipulation and people traumatizing other people.
True.
It really comes down like hurting people. So obviously these people had trauma. There's some unwell people, some sick people, but it's like they don't get help, so they're like traumatizing other people in the like process of all this, and including Swoop.
I think one thing I just don't know and I can't grasp is
including Swoop. How did you miss that, Adam?
what was the end goal for Johnny? What was the end goal from Johnny? Is there anyone that's able to rationalize it? I see everyone just saying fame and attention, but it's like... I don't know. What?
I can't even, dude.
All have upheld abortion rights in this country. And even red states, there are more swing state
What is this dead air? Come on, Adam. Why you got dead air? Now I got the Republican debate going on.
And state, which today confirmed a 6-week abortion law as well, especially
Very, very, very true, Milo. Very true, Milo.
obviously was affected by it, which is like, you know, crazy because, you know, you think you have no attachment to the story on a personal level, and then you do, and then you get triggered, and now it's like affecting you and your mental health. And but like also at the same time, like it needs to be out there to show this like full side, this full story, because it's just so beyond drama or gossip. It's like this like really like dark world of people talking to all these people and manipulation, and just it's kind of, I don't know.
Yeah, it's not like a scandal. It's not like drama. Like there's real victims, and it affects people on such like an emotional level. And two, it's like for the real victims of the whole like Colleen situation. Like Adam, Oliver, Becky. Like that was what I really felt bad for, is because I feel like they were trying to like move on. And yeah, like just take Adam for example. Like yeah, he can cover it or talk about different things that come up in his videos, but he's also doing other things. Like he's not only talking about Colleen, he's covering other things. And he's like moving on with his life and trying to like build his career. That's what he's like working towards. So I felt bad because of this like.
I appreciate him saying that. I really do. Just on the basis as well of like, I mean, everyone does love to throw it in my face of like, oh my god, like this is all you're talking about. But if you think about it as well, it's like, I have been uploading equally, if not more, content that doesn't revolve around this on my channel since this has started. And if you want to hyper focus on, videos to do with this, that's on you. But you can also click on my channel and see the story times, the Am I the Assholes, the Ask Adams, the vlogs, the sit down videos. Like there's more of them than what there is of all this. Like, and also it's ridiculous, and I'm not going to allow 2020 to happen again where people say,
well, and also it's a bullshit move to say that you can't talk about a subject. That's exactly what they did to me, Adam, when I started getting sexually harassed by somebody I was doing some volunteer work for, and then he was stalking me up and down the state, and has disparaged me amongst many various Democratic groups, right? Look, the reality is that is their number one goal, is to silence you. But they don't have a problem with like Ethan Klein talking about it as much as he wants to talk about it, or other live streamers like covering the subject. They don't have a problem with that. They have a problem with you talking about it. And that's the same situation with me, is they have a problem with me talking about it specifically, because if I talk about my personal experiences of being sexually harassed and assaulted, then that, who am I to do that? I don't know. You're just trying to silence me at this point, right? They're trying to silence you by saying that you're hyper fixating on the subject. It's still in the news, so why shouldn't you be able to speak to it? For fuck's sake.
oh, he's, guilty because he's not saying something. So if someone brings my fucking name up, I'm gonna talk. Like,
Takes everyone back,
Yeah, because ultimately you don't want to be known for that, especially when you are trying to do other things. Like, this is not what you want to be known for. Like, obviously, as everybody speak on it, I'm always saying, like, if you want to make 1,000 videos, if you've, like, been a victim of trauma, especially, and like I said in my email to him, it's like, sometimes you don't even realize it. Maybe he doesn't realize it now, or maybe, when you get older, sometimes you don't even realize, like, the effect it, like, has on you.
Yeah.
Or why you are this way, why
I think it's important to note that everything I've been responding to and making videos on recently is people talking about me and me responding to them. You know what I mean?
Yep.
are so upset, like why, these things are, or the people that don't have, YouTube channels, like the other people affected. Was it who was the one on stage? Was that Ella?
Becky.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I see her pop up on my Twitter.
Shout out
recently.
Becky.
It's like, this is a girl that doesn't really have like social media like that, doesn't have a following, and still like gets re-traumatized when anyone brings it up. So like other influencers talking about it, being like, it's not a big deal, and it's like I don't get how people don't grasp the severity of this, because I get saying like, who cares about drama? Like, of course, who cares about drama? But this is something everyone should care about, as a parent, as an influencer, as a fan. Like, this is like a really big issue that like I don't understand why there's not more like severity, like more people are talking about it and like not stop talking about it. Now it's being written off as drama. Who cares? Whatever. And it's like these people, these young fans that felt really.
I love that Trisha's holding her mic like this. And she has since the start of the video. Also, I agree with everything Trisha. Hold on, I feel like this is uncomfortable for me to do.
No matter who.
This is uncomfortable. I agree completely with everything Trisha is saying. You know, whether you're a mother and the fact that this could happen to your child online, whether it is Colleen or someone else, or whether you are the fan, whether you're a fan of someone else, like there are so many people that this, you know, can affect and people can learn from. And I think it's really important.
Hurt by this person in power that they admire is like, not only are they not getting the acknowledgement or, you know, some sort of apology or some sort of closure from it, now they're getting like mocked for it as being like drama, as being this, and that's why people don't come forward and why people don't want to talk about it, and it becomes this thing. And it just becomes almost like an ick. And now it's like this whole new, like you said, reopening all this stuff. And honestly, for me too, and I don't like to paint myself as like a victim, obviously, in the situation, but it is like a lot to process. And you realize how young everyone is that was involved.
I mean, she also is a victim in this, so.
Like obviously had some issues with, you know, this, you know, whatever in this world and trying to, I don't know, get whatever out of it. But then now he's doing it to other people, like taking people's stories, you know, taking like Adam's story.
Oh, the pinky's down.
It just becomes like a really twisted thing and of manipulation of.
Adam, please be careful that you don't get sucked into another Colleen situation. None of these people are good. None of these people are good. And you can't look at somebody like Trish and be like, oh yes, I am now her fan. No. She already has a history of apparently having altercations with other live streamers, and she was well aware that she was a sex worker, that her pictures could be downloaded and shared. She is not so much of a victim as you think, and I'm sure that being in that line of work, she was well aware that type of shit could happen to her.
On these things and manipulating people, it's just like, I don't know, it's such it's a sick feeling. And then obviously, I don't know.
For anyone who hasn't seen Swoop's video, like, I think just watch it because it's so well done and it's hard to like summarize everything that she uncovered about what was going on with Johnny. But just to sum it up and as quickly as possible, so Swoop had uncovered that Johnny, who was saying that he was groomed by Colleen's ex-husband, Joshua David Evans, Johnny had doctored evidence. He refused to provide proof of the allegations. He was leaving out context in screenshots.
Oh my god, the like big list just goes to show how fucking many things he's done.
When he was a minor, when he was an adult, he was claiming that Joshua had lied about stuff but never provided proof about that, and he was in group chats with minors when he was just alleging all the stuff that Joshua did to him that he would never do. It turns out he actually was. So the whole situation is just so shitty, especially I think when we first were texting about it, you were like, oh, I hate that this takes away from like Colleen. So it's important to also remember where this all originally came from, and not all because there's like another person who's done shitty things doesn't take away from the source.
Totally,
you know?
yeah. And she is the person in power of in this situation, so it like trickles down.
Someone commented and was like, Trisha looks over it. I think it's important to note that this is a story that does involve Trisha to some degree. So, Trisha is either holding...
Yeah, Swoop didn't linger on this part of the story, Adam. She did not linger on this part of the story because Trish is just as suspect as Johnny. Please stop uplifting her. You already did your part in offering your apology, in telling that part of the story just to corroborate what Johnny had put on the net, which he should not have done. But quite frankly, you're walking in dangerous waters right now.
Herself back, and even if Trisha was over it, it's a situation that involves her and she has every right to be, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But how scary it is that like it can be like you can tamper with evidence, kind of like what she did with Adam when she like showed that the video. We talked about that, you know. It's kind of like when you can doctor things.
I appreciate Trisha's brought this up a couple times now of Colleen literally editing evidence to paint me in a bad light, which she has done. I'm so glad that she keeps bringing this up because not many people do. But the lingerie of her editing out her begging to give them to me, you know what I mean, and how creepy my parents would think she is and stuff, and she edited that out. It's like such an obscure thing, and I'm so glad that Trisha keeps bringing it up, and I'm very grateful that she does.
Or unsent messages or something like that, like how damaging it is, because like again, once something's out there, you're labeling someone like, and groomer is like very, very like a big accusation, and some, you know, rightfully so and some not, but once it's out there, it's hard to like get back. You know what I mean? When you're labeled as something like that, that's it. And you're labeled as across the board. And like how someone can go so hard on someone and label them that. Because again, not to say like the situation, like, you know, he didn't feel slighted by someone, but when you feel slighted by someone can just like twist it around and make this like really big accusation. And I like that she was able to like include everything and show like that story. Because there's so many times I wish like people could see the full story of this, because he just becomes like
Adam, just because somebody's nice to you for a hot minute does not mean they have good intentions for you. She's getting uplifted by your story just like Johnny is. Please stop with this bullshit.
attack almost, and then people just jump on it. And like the way he kind of turned the story to make it about him and her ex-husband is like so sick.
Yeah, and honestly, when I was watching it, I was actually like really pissed off. Like, I normally like kind of take everything with like a grain of salt, but to be honest, with like the way that Johnny was acting on Twitter, like before all this happened, like rubbed me the wrong way, because it's like I obviously want to empathize with all the victims of the whole situation, but like I said earlier, like I could see everyone else trying to move on, but nothing was ever enough for Johnny. When Josh apologized, like privately, publicly, it was content for him for weeks, dragging him, like nothing.
And it's so often that we will experience stories where
There's over 6 million car accidents.
people forget to bring it up. Just not out of anything, but just that so much has happened. And Oscar bringing this up about the apologies, and then the apologies turned into more content for Johnny, and then he wanted more apologies so there could be more content for him, is again such an obscure thing to bring up, but really helps paint the picture of Johnny in the correct way. And I mean, the research on this podcast is actually really good. And I mean, they've condensed the SWIP video to a nice level that doesn't take away from the story, but also redirects you to the SWIP video.
Was enough, even though his apology was like as eloquent as it could have possibly have been. And I'm like not invested in like, I was never like a fan of Colleen beforehand, not like in a brag way, just like it just wasn't my thing. I didn't really know like
That is something to brag about.
But seeing the way that Johnny,
I do think Johnny was in love with Josh.
Extreme. He would
I
call
think
out,
so, in my
He
opinion.
had this tweet about like, I think Joey, there's something with Joey Graceffa because he had like a Minecraft server, so alluding that there was something there, and Joey's like old fans actually had to come out and be like, no, they reactivated their Twitter accounts just to say like, you're wrong. So the fact that he was labeling people so aggressively, he was just doing anything for attention, and that became his whole brand. His whole brand was to take down Joshua for some reason.
Or pressuring people who don't talk about it. It's like, you feel like Joey or people are friends. It's like, no, no one has to say anything for a multitude of reasons. There's, it doesn't mean they're siding with this person, but like, it just gets messy. And they're like, I hate that mentality. It's like, well, you have to talk about it. You were friends with this person, talk about it. And it's like, I don't like that pushy mentality. I also think like, and it's no secret, like I'm not a fan of Joshua. It's not because of anything with Colleen. Like he had said something so long ago. It doesn't even matter.
This is interesting to me. I want to hear what she has to say, and then I'm going to talk and a little. Hold on. Let me hear this.
Like it's just like literally something about like couples who are like fake online or something. And I took it as like a personal insult. This was like wow. So it's not like a secret that I wasn't like a fan of his. But like you said, like there is like time.
Oh, I guess that's it. I am very aware that Trisha and Josh did not like each other because of a moment in time where she came for him really, really, really intensely. And I remember, it's my speculation that Colleen was feeling that because Colleen was sending us all updates to go and look at Trisha's story, and at the same time was making fun of Trisha for being, I think it was her words were like, psychotically unhinged or something like that. Hold on, let me type this. I can't talk and type at the same time. Okay, here we go.
Drama in their lives where it's not even, I don't even know if it's real. I think half of it's real.
And I have seen it.
Half of it is fabricated.
I've seen a clip, by the way, from this podcast, the one clip I have seen where Trisha goes on to say, and Colleen didn't entice me to do any of that. I don't believe that, honestly, because I know what Colleen was doing to us behind the scenes, so.
And people they're using you for a view. This is not
Oh my god, your girl doesn't give a shit anymore. But I swear to God, when Joshua DTV makes a video saying they're using you for views by talking about drama, you broke up 2 years ago and still talk about your drama.
See, this is why I think Colleen fueled it. I mean, not only did Colleen
Well, yeah, because, like, seriously, most people don't give a shit what's going on in somebody else's relationship, and they certainly are not going to live stream about it. Like, it doesn't, unless it's, like, some weird-ass news story, like what's been going on here with all the various live streams, where we all get to see it, like, unfold. Nobody gives a shit about this kind of crap. The only thing that especially my generation, the parents, the grandparents, if you will. The only thing we care about is whether or not children were hurt. We don't care about the petty fucking beefs that these grown-ass adults had with each other. And it is very weird for somebody else to weigh in on somebody else's relationship. That doesn't make any sense. But Adam, you need to go back and take a look at what she said about Swoop. Because people who have been traumatized are traumatizing other people, including Swoop. What does that mean? In what context was that said?
Update us in the moment to go and look at Trisha's story and then also call her unhinged for doing it. But everything she's saying is about, like, Colleen, you know what I mean?
I have literally nothing against Josh. Met him one time, perfectly fine. I don't know the history. I don't care because it happened 2 years ago. But this guy, like, literally just dragged.
And by the way, at this time was whenever Colleen was getting us all to, like, harass him on social media. Something to note.
And dragged his relationship and his current one for views. If you are somebody who puts your life out there and exploits your relationship and your breakup years after something even happened, you one of those too, boo. You are. Don't say you were a part of that. You are a part of it. You are the king of it.
Colleen?
Totally not your business, Trish. However he responds to what Colleen was doing to him at the time, totally not your fucking business. So you were just like Cody Tyler, right? Who decided to come after Adam. Who she also exhibited inappropriate feelings for and actions towards. Like, you're basically in the same position as Cody Tyler at this point. Except that Cody Tyler did not have pictures that were getting circulated to body shame her. But I bet if she had some, it would have happened. Because I've seen Cody Tyler, and she's not exactly a looker.
I had no issues with him.
Was so happy when Trisha did this. I can't tell you how happy Colleen was when Trisha did this. Like, Colleen was one of the happiest I have ever seen Colleen in her life. Ever after Trisha did this. Colleen was like, she was overwhelmingly happy. I remember this day specifically because it was a really big day for all of us. Because it was like, oh my god, we've got Trisha on the record.
I followed him on Instagram, but
This goes on and on and
my
on.
whole channel has been my life. Over emotional. Put my shit out there and anyone can comment. Actual feelings, whatever platform you have. He keeps up all his about divorce, healing, pain. I shouldn't be telling you this. All these clickbait drama titles he still has up. That's a crazy person. Built my platform out of love and out of people like growing with me and like being with me on a journey. And so I share my feelings and emotions, and there is nothing wrong with that. Whatever channel he's talking about, all the
How do these people even have internet followings? They're so petty. They're so catty. They're such mean girls bullshit. Like, how is it that they have attracted followings on YouTube? I just don't even get it.
channels talking about whatever.
So, there's that.
When like someone apologizes, and what more can you want? Like, you know what I mean? If they apologize, if you don't accept it, that's fine. But to continue to drag someone who you don't know their story, but also just to like really like go the extra mile and accuse someone of like some serious like damaging things. And I don't think he's on social media anymore, or he's not doesn't have a platform anymore. So it's also like, what are you trying to do? You're just trying to ruin this person's life when there's no merit to it. Where we now found out, it's like
Yeah, it was always just so weird because what was the end? There was like no end game. It's like, what could he have possibly done? Besides just completely, Joshua wasn't really that active on social media. It's not like he was a YouTuber making content. So I don't know I think he was just trying to go as far as he possibly could to gain followers and do it like at all costs. And it's like, was that like really worth it? Like, why would you want to hurt other victims, like take some and put yourself in legal jeopardy? Like, I can't believe that he was able to get away with all these allegations as much as he did.
Yeah.
Did you see that Johnny actually released a statement
No. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Was that the last thing he said though?
That was the last thing. Yeah, it was his tweet about Swoop's video, and that's
Which
all
is
that he
basically saying it was all. It's like she manipulated it or
Yeah,
something.
he felt betrayed by Swoop, and that his trauma was used against him.
I didn't get that at all from the interview.
No, me either.
I mean, it was like watching it and just watching the parts. I'm just like, wow. Like even like the stuff, like the tweets, like where he's just like, yeah, like why would you collab with a porn star? Like all this like really harsh stuff. But then he's trying to be like, oh, but I put it out to like make Trisha feel better. And like I'm like, well, what? No. And then he like
Just lying, obviously.
I don't know, just all the stuff. I'm just like, it's a little like ick.
But do you see how she's directing the whole thing at her? Like, hey, he came after me, and this was discussed in Swoop's video. It was a 4-hour-long video, Adam, and it was primarily about the guy lying about Josh. I mean, that was a very small part of the video. And here she's doing exactly the same thing that Johnny did.
He really annoyed me before everything, and then watching that, I was so mad.
Yeah, then
I
it
was
takes
really
away
mad.
from like other people, and not just Colleen, but just like other people that like actually were affected by it. And it's like, okay, so then everyone else just starts to be like, okay, this is like now. Then it becomes the drama of it, and it's like not drama. It's like very real, very.
Johnny was like made the rounds on like different podcasts and stuff too, and that is also annoying too because he took advantage of other people's platforms. But then too, like even it was like a reminder that you do have to like be mindful of both sides of the story. And I feel like we try to be too, but like who's to say I would have been any different? Like I know he went on a podcast and they were like they were so pro Johnny, and they wouldn't even like let Joshua chime in and give his side of the story too. And it's like,
And I think one thing to note as well is like, if we include that after Josh tried to reach out so many times, and then after Johnny kept making fun of the apologies and Josh blocked him, and then Johnny was like, well, there it is, he blocked me and that was his end game. It's like Josh couldn't have done anything right.
there's that element as well. It's like, well, if you see someone who's like being like a victim who everyone is like supporting and rallying behind, it's hard to also like reach out to the other person who is being accused of things, 'cause,
Yeah,
like,
but you should fully get a full side to every story.
Yeah.
That then it becomes like harmful and dangerous all over again. It's such a like going on a platform, going on all these interviews and stuff, like knowing that you also partook in this bad behavior.
Yeah.
Is what's crazy. Which is why again the shock back to me, which was like, oh wow, we started this whole podcast together, knowing you said all this horrible stuff about me. Like that's what's bizarre to me, and like him too doing this. I'm like, you also partook in this really bad behavior. You weren't a child, and like Adam was a child. So like Adam was like, I apologize because I partook in this too. It's like, but you were a child, so like you don't know better. And when you're an adult and you do know better, to also like go on all these interviews and then be like, well, yeah, like I can't believe this, but meanwhile you're doing the same thing.
Did you think it would never come? Like I don't understand too. Maybe it was just such a level of like mentally like disassociating from it that maybe he
So I'm just like listening to this and like taking this in. This is also my first time listening to this.
believed that he didn't. I don't know.
That's why I don't
But-
understand that. No, but that's I don't want to use this word like lightly at all, but it's almost like psychopathic, where it's just like you just don't think. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like, oh, you said all this horrible stuff about me, but you're still gonna like start this go into business and stuff like me. Like the minute we started our podcast, I was like, hey, just so you know, like people try to cancel me, people hate me for this, and this. Like I was very clear. I was like, oh, I don't know why you're problematic or why people don't like you, and then she would never tell me. And then all of this, I'm like, that's like almost like psychopathic, where you're not gonna be like open to someone, or you confront someone. I'm like, oh my god, like did you say this about me? Oh my god, never. They were the ones obsessed with you. Like that's almost like, are you okay? Like this stuff is gonna come out. Like how do you?
Because again, remember whenever Trisha confronted Colleen about it, and then Colleen said, no, Adam was actually obsessed with you. And then the truth came out a couple days later, I guess.
And like, even if it doesn't, like your conscience, like this guilty conscience, I'm just like, unless like you said, unless it's a disassociating thing, or they're just so like they don't think it happens, or they think they're above it, or I don't know.
I mean, especially when there's like text and stuff. It's like there's a paper trail. It never made sense to me. Like why not like fess up at some point and like to go down to like the very last minute when like they really have no other escape really than to apologize or confront that you did something shitty.
Yeah, it's so bizarre.
It's so
and it's also
weird.
like you didn't just say it once. Like there's times when I'm like, oh, I don't remember saying that or something, or like, oh, I totally forgot I said that about someone or whatever. But it was like so many times I was on a watch list apparently, and I'm like, okay, if you have like a watch list and you have like your fans helping you out, like you have to know that you did this. Like it's
So Johnny said that Trisha was on a watch list, which is just so dramatic. Like, watch list? Like, please. That is so dramatic. They would just keep up with Trisha on social media. Like, watch list? Like, what do you mean by that? I think it was just Johnny throwing around big words like he often does. But they would, always watch Trisha's stuff. There was no, like, watch list or notifications on or anything like that. Trisha was just someone that was a big part of their life.
Well, you don't know that. You don't know if Colleen herself set up like a Google alert and then activated her internet warriors, yourself included, to track after Josh, track after Trish. You don't know if that totally could have been going. She could have had like all kinds of internet organizing going on. Because that is how we generally do it, is we're, like when we're organizing for various campaigns, we are looking for articles, we're looking for things that, like, I've been in politics for a long time now, and I work with a lot of different groups, and generally what they're looking for is information that will be advantageous to the candidates that we're supporting, right? And in her case, she was the candidate, right? So she felt like she had done some things to Josh that could come back to bite her, and she wanted to make sure that she just destroyed him, destroyed his reputation, just absolutely destroyed him. And she asked you and Johnny, at the very least, I don't know how many other people, apparently based on what you guys are saying, probably Cody and Trish might have been involved in this too, but maybe not to the same degree, because they had higher level internet careers, I guess. But this is like a very toxic environment of troll farming, basically.
Without Trisha really knowing it.
It's honestly something that like is the most shocking thing. So I feel like it's one of those things too where I'm just like so shook by it, and everything that comes out by it, I'm just like, wow, this is like so dark and like sinister and twisted and like affected so many people. Like if he was also talking to these like underage kids, like what is wrong with people? Why are you talking to underage children? Like period ever. Like it's just so weird. Or like lying about bullying Adam and then it's like not happening. I'm like what is this? I'm like so
becoming a knight in stories that didn't even happen. Oh my god, I take accountability for bullying Adam. Didn't even happen.
bizarre.
And then that kind of reminds me too. It's like he had to have known, because then he like deleted in the screenshots he sent to Swoop. He deleted the stuff that made him look like a fan. You know what I mean? So he had to have known how it would come across.
Did he not know that it doesn't work? Like the other person can still see those messages. That's so sus. Yeah, when people do that, it's like so sus.
Yeah, that's why the whole thing just pisses
Doesn't make you a fan, right?
It makes me so mad. It makes me so mad. Like it never ends. The Colleen stuff.
ends.
It never. There's like layer after layer after layer, and I just feel bad that it keeps like being brought up. And like every time like the wound starts to close up, it's just like
It's like draining. It's exhausting. At the same time, I mean, I do think it's like important to like keep the awareness going, because so many things do get brushed under, and I feel like this is such a severe situation that I'm just like, how is this not? How does it now get brushed under as like, oh, she's been on YouTube a while. It's a mistake. Why do people care? Who cares? It's like, but it's such a big thing, and it's like, I don't know. Especially if you're a parent, have a child, like you would care if someone is texting your like teenagers this stuff, or like having these adult conversations. Like it's the most.
I mean, true.
It's a very traumatizing thing. But I don't think people realize the trauma.
Not Johnny trying to be your name in a fan fiction.
Dealing with that with like adults.
Cody's fan fiction?
Like I had lots of people tell me. I had like two guys that I knew like that were in their 40s when I was a teenager, telling me that they were going to divorce their wives. And this is like drama, not for me, but just like telling me, oh, I don't know what to do. Like my wife is this, and it's like at the time you feel special, you feel whatever, like you're in it, and then you're like, oh my god, this is like a lot to take on, and then you're like taking on this guilt and this thing. It's just like very weird. And then like in my head, they were in my head, I'm like, oh, women are awful. Women are the problem in marriages. Like it's like so weird. It gets like really deep and really dark, and I think this is a lot, and like seeing it how it affected Swoop, how it affects a lot of people. And also just like these false accusations, it's like so scary that anyone can do this.
everyone like kind of had preconceived notions about Joshua too, which I don't think helped. And so everyone obviously like would believe Johnny like right away. So it's just like so tricky, because it's like you obviously believe the victims, but then you also have to hear the other side. I get that it's like hard to juggle all sides, but I guess at least with the Colleen stuff, like she had a chance to give her side, and then it was the ukulele. So it's like
I did think, right, which is like honestly like that to me was like, what like I mean,
yeah,
it was like a lot. But I do think in some sense that Johnny was obviously like manipulated, in the sense that it's a power dynamic thing where there's someone who has the power, who's a celebrity, who's paying you, who's your employer, and so you kind of feel like you need to partake in it, or you do it to other people. It's kind of like again, the hurt people, you get traumatized, so you're like doing it to other people to feel some sort of power or something. That's like, so I do believe like, there is like a victim there, but again, you can't just go around and like hurt people, like I do think he felt some type of way, like he felt, I don't know, maybe manipulated by her, because I think it is the person with the fame and the power that is in the power.
So what, Johnny felt manipulated by Colleen, so decided to take it out on Josh? What?
Yeah, what? What?
Part two is like yeah, there's a lot of shady stuff that came out, but at the root of it, there's definitely still like someone who was hurt and like a victim in a way too. And like you're right, it's like a weirdly kind of reminds me of the Lizzo situation. Like he was an employee, right? And then there was just like stuff and like lines that were crossed. Especially he was young. He was an adult, but he was still a young adult, you know. So and being like a fan, being a young person who's suddenly like on the road traveling, like that's also a whole other dynamic. Like you're away from home.
So hard.
Yeah. So there's definitely like a root to that situation.
It's so tough. It's so tough. That's I think anything with a fan dynamic is just like super hard because you'll always be the person in power. You'll always be able to manipulate intentionally or unintentionally. You know, you're manipulating the situation because
I think it's also important to note whenever people are giving Johnny praise and being like, you know, he was still a part of like a power dynamic. Didn't he then create his own power dynamic because he had a power dynamic and then used that as well?
Yes.
Like,
one that has the power and in charge, which is like why you're not supposed to have like workplace romances and you know romances with your boss because there's that power dynamic, and I think that's like something people like don't see either. You know, I don't know because like fans even in, like with you know David and like the vlog squad, you know these people were fans, they want to be in the vlog, so they
They
compromise.
would do things they normally wouldn't do because of the opportunity or
And so like that person has a responsibility. The person with the power, I think, has a responsibility
to like protect.
Yeah, because it's such a serious thing, and so that's why it's like, I don't know, keeping people at a distance is like sometimes better for everyone involved. You know what I mean? Especially like you shouldn't be ever having lunch with like a 15-year-old fan, like if you're in your 30s, like, and that's weird. And no matter how that situation played out, like just those details of it is kind of like
That is not true. I mean, like, literally, there are lots of situations in which adults may engage in a lunch with a teenager or even younger children than that. If you are a Cub Scout leader, like I was, if you were a parent volunteer, if you T-ball. My son was in T-ball, right? So what do you think we do after the game? We go out and fucking have pizza, right? That's just some bullshit. Everything has to be put in context. Having a lunch is not considered a sexual advancement. Oh my God, even.
eerie to me. It's like, oh well, you know, we've been waiting here, and just like, this is a child, like that. His parents are dropping him off. Like, what?
Shut up.
And there's still a part 4, which how do you feel? Are you gonna watch?
I'm interested to hear what Trisha has to say about part 4 because obviously it has to entirely do with Joshua David Evans, and clearly we know that Trisha does not like Joshua David Evans. So I'm interested to see whether or not Trisha is interested in it. I feel like, of course, she's going to watch it either way, but like...
I'm a Swoop fan now, so I'm kind of invested. Again, I feel like, you know, you don't have to like someone to also like understand that they've also been, you know, I don't know if victim's the right word or hurt, you know, by the whole situation. Because I don't know how I feel.
She's
about
talking
it.
about Josh there.
I think all of it's sad.
Again, I wasn't really invested like in this era, but I can imagine like, you know, you were a part of like a YouTube couple or whatever, right? And then you break up, and then you are completely like white. You have to like completely be wiped off the internet basically because it's so bad. After dealing with so much and overcoming a lot, to be able to like finally have an opportunity to be heard, that is like it must be like a big relief for him. So I can understand why he would.
Well, it doesn't work again. Just it's to not take away this.
Okay, before what Trisha gets to, Josh deserves to be heard. You have no idea, if you were not a part of this fandom, how little he was heard or how little his opinion was, you know, valued or anything like that. For me, as someone who was a part of all of it, it's like, I'm happy for him. I really, really, really am. He deserves this moment. And he almost had it, but then Johnny came in. So he's having it again now, you know.
Severity of like what the actual like crime was and like this criminal offense with like children. You know, it's one thing to be a crappy person, but it's another thing to be a crappy person to like a child and like children involved and like take away like that one girl felt humiliated and to be like, oh, it was just a joke. It's like, okay, well, again, this is like a focus thing, and I get it. Like, you know, you feel safe enough to come out. There's enough stories and you feel safe enough. And I feel like there's people in my life. I'm like, well, one day if like a lot of people came about it, you know, maybe I would chime in too. I don't know.
I know. At least like she said that she does like ask him the hard questions. She doesn't like let him off the hook with anything. So if there's anyone I trust to like be fair on both sides and make sure, you know, it's not like going to be like a puff piece on
That's
it.
also a good point to admit. You know what I mean? It's also a good point to admit that, you know, Swoop is not just going to sit there and be like, Josh, I love you. Josh, this is your moment. Swoop is going to be like, Josh, this is your moment, but we also need to address first of all.
Right. Yeah, then on the other hand, sometimes I mean, look, I think totally do whatever. Like I've always said, like if you're like a victim of something, like you can make 1,000 videos and you're in the right for it. I don't know. I go back and forth, but I think if anyone wants a platform and they feel safe to come out with something, they should. Especially if your life was destroyed allegedly, by someone, or you felt that way. Like you should.
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna say allegedly for that. Josh's life was destroyed by Colleen. Colleen was obsessed with him. This isn't alleged.
So we'll see how that shakes out. But Swoop said the interview was 7 hours.
So crazy.
That is crazy.
Yeah, and I hope she does get. Did she get her monetization? Because that's a lot of work. Like, period. That's so much work. It's like, did she get it reinstated? The
I don't
monetization?
know.
Because that's work. That is work. And it started out as like once you.
It's pissed me off. Her video got demonetized.
You're editing. You're giving hours of your time. You're like being so invested in this. Like it's actually work. I think that's what people forget too.
I hope people are buying her hoodies to make up for it.
Even Adam, like at the end of the day, like. I'm sure like this stuff is not what he wanted to happen, but it's like it is a job. This is what he does for a living. It's like it's what I do for a living. It's just kind of like at the end of the day, you like talk about it, and it just is unfortunate that this is like the story. But sometimes you become the story, like Wendy Williams.
Yeah.
Remember when she was like getting divorced? Like I would ask for privacy right now, but I want to give it to you.
Oh, that is true, actually. Wait, that is such a valid point that Trisha brought up. Where there's that clip of Wendy and she's going through a divorce and they're asking her about it and she's like crying and she's like, I'm gonna ask you for my privacy, but I don't respect others, or something like that. What is it? Wendy Williams, respect privacy. That is so real. Where is it?
I'm gonna get my chicken and waffles and I'm gonna go back to my hotel. It's not fair.
Where is it?
I don't know. Find it fast.
So turning that as a potato. Yes, of course you will. Kevin's got to graduate from college. But they're not apart. And I gotta go.
Where is that?
I understand. Wendy, listen,
Where's the actual clip? That's like the full length one. Where is it?
Damn, dude.
Hold on, I'm looking. I know it's whenever she's crying. Give me a moment. Oh my god, this is such an obscure thing for Trisha to reference.
I didn't plan on this, but it is what it is. I have got to go. I gotta go. Thank you for people's.
Yeah, there's an EV.
She's going. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, this is like.
Hungry.
Ray, listen, welcome to LA.
I love
right?
Not
All right.
Streets of
the young.
the world.
Oh my god, that's so annoying. I can't find it.
Find it.
Anyway, it's a clip of her, and she goes, I want to ask you to respect my privacy. Ugh, damn it. She's like, I want to ask you to respect my privacy, but I don't respect other people's privacies. Damn it. Just know that it exists.
At this point, I'm just like, yeah, I mean, people are gonna talk, and you might as well get on it if it's part of you, put your own narrative in there, because I hate when people like talk around me or about me, and it's like, oh god, I try so hard to like not talk about it, but then it's like, okay, I need to.
Yeah, well, when you have your own chapter in the video, you gotta.
I know, because honestly, I was just like, oh, I don't know if I want to watch this. It's like really, really hard, and it does get triggering. I saw it, and I got so immediately like triggered when he was like, oh, well, why are you doing a podcast with a porn star? Anyways, like just so insensitive, and so like I'm just like, Jesus, like you don't care, and I didn't see any of that prior. Like I really didn't see so much of this prior, and even when he put out the pictures, I was just like, oh my god, this is like a lot. Like the emojis he used to censor me and stuff like that, or the way he describes where she's butt naked with a big grin on her face, and like this is my job. Like this is something that like I hope to get away from one day. It's like I'm making money in there now, and I'm doing it, but it's not it's not my proudest moments, especially as a mom, and then having that out there. And honestly, it's more of like a humiliation thing. Like I said, there's plenty of ways to contact me like privately with stuff, and it's like, and also to not find out that it was like to force me to talk is like, ugh, it just feels so almost like blackmail, violation. It's just like a lot. It's just he kind of sucks, and I feel bad for him again. I know he saw this like these people he admired and fame. I know how it feels to be like rejected by people that you like love, and I think that's when you can turn into like the villain. I guess I do think that can like turn someone. Not an excuse, but it's also like get it together.
Yeah, it's an explanation.
Don't hurt other people. Yeah.
I think that's something to admit as well. That's a good point. It's like when you don't get the attention that you wanted from these people, so you like turn evil against them.
Yeah. I really did learn a lot.
No, you see, so sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like you gotta get it together. And another reason why you just shouldn't, get that close with fans, because like ultimately you could hurt them. I mean, I know I've heard people who like thought we were like really close friends. They came to a meetup and I like kept in touch with them, and then they come to California and I don't hang out with them, and then they get really sad. And I like understand that. I totally do. So but this is like on this like deep level. You're sharing all these intimate things with someone. You're sending them like pictures, like then you feel even closer. So it even hurts more when you're like rejected, quote unquote. I don't know what the falling out was, but obviously he felt some sort of rejection, and it made him feel some type of way. As anyone would feel, I think Adam even talks about that too. It's just like feeling like like I think he quoted said like he was losing her or something like that when he was like a teenager. So he's like, oh, I'm losing her. You know, I lost her. I lost this connection or whatever. And I don't really know what it was. But
Yeah, I said that I felt I had fucked up the friendship because she started blaming me for her getting cancelled for the Meghan Trainor tweet when actually it was her fault. And I was like, oh shit, I messed up this friendship. That was what I said, yeah.
that happened, but it's like, yeah, that can feel traumatizing, especially as a child. You feel like you just like ruined the greatest thing that could ever happen to
Yeah.
you. You had this like connection to someone you admired so much, and it could feel the worst. And like shame on the adult for like making someone feel that way and making them feel
A child.
Like, I love you, you're my family, and then also like, you're fired. I'm never talking to you again.
Yeah, that's why boundaries are just really.
Boundaries are important.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta like realize that in general, and it's just and if they're underage, just don't. Like, you can be friendly, as Dr. Drew says, be friendly. You can be friendly with them, but don't need to be friends. Even if
Yeah.
you're like 70, like you don't need to be friends. If you're 31, you don't need to be friends with anyone that's a teenager. Even if you're 18, 19, you don't need to be friends with them. Period. Period. That should be a good name for a podcast. Period. It should be period. And you only talk about your menstrual cycle. Period.
No, you can actually have friendly situations with children that you are mentoring without it being compromising. Like, this is so stupid that you guys are like drawing such a hard line at this point because she fucked up so hard. But it doesn't mean that every single relationship that exists between a child and an adult is a bad situation. That's not what it means. Like, you literally can mentor kids. And you should, if you're a responsible adult and you're not going to introduce them to sexual content. Fuck's sake. Why is this so hard to comprehend?
All right, well, I guess that's the end of talking about that. You know what? Again, as Trisha likes to say about me or anyone like that, like, they can make as many videos or as little videos as they want. Also for Trisha, she can talk about her friendship with Colleen and the fallout as much or as little as she wants to. You know, it goes both ways.
Right.
Regardless of your opinion of her, she is someone who is directly involved in this and has every single right to talk about this.
Sure.
So, period.
Okay. All right.